Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and we're going to be playing some more Marlin today. So, got little bit of a busy work week this week, so I haven't given like a ton of thoughts to the deck, but a little bit of practice here and there to kind of help, kind of prep for Nats. I don't know if I'm going to be taking Marlin. High chances are if the deck ends up being pretty okay by the time Nationals rolls around. But if not, then maybe gonna try a new hero or try some other stuff. But yeah, Marlin is still kind of chugging along, still doing pretty good. I'm still trying out the take game thing, although I've kind of modified the deck, I think, a little bit since the last video. So the only card that I think I've like cut entirely from this deck at this point has been Throw Caution on the Wind. And I think Throw Caution kind of gets a little bit worse if you're running a lot less blues in your deck. It becomes a little bit more unreliable. And like the card's already like kind of not reliable in the like kind of like higher blue count of the deck. So basically I've been trying to swap this for just kind of some more utility cards for some of our kind of more challenging matchups. I'm back on the Frail Swing lines, and this might also become like Ripple Away or whatever. It kind of depends on the meta swings, but I've been encountering a lot more warriors. Like the Frail Swing lines have made a fair bit more sense, and they are just like nichely useful into a lot of the kind of like better decks right now. Like I think Boltyn's kind of creeping up there in terms of being a good deck. Marionette, obviously, lots of like dagger stuff. So like having frail swing lines to like high roll just like a random frailty, or like if you get like the super high roll of like getting your opponent to discard a card, both are kind of like really nice kind of states. So I feel like just having like extra kind of like high roll potential in the deck makes a fair bit of sense. And then the floor is that it's a blue 3 block, so like you're not actually losing all that much by kind of including it. But yeah, I've been kind of liking that a little bit more than throw cautions, and the throw cautions might end up being good if like the Acilios are good by the time that Omens kind of wraps around. But for now, I think throw caution is kind of a cut just because there's not like a ton of arcane damage I'm kind of thinking about other than like the old Acilio, but by the time Nats rolls around, old Acilio deck. So I'm going to be trying out basically cutting the throw cautions just to kind of see how the deck feels. And I feel like the deck has actually been kind of performing quite well. Like overall, my stats have been like pretty comparable to the kind of like mono blue list. I think like my win rate with like the kind of like higher blue density of the deck list is maybe like a couple points higher. Like maybe I'm like 81% or like 82%, but like I think basically like a 3% difference, and maybe it's just like me not being used to the deck, or maybe the draw variance is definitely maybe like 3% worse or whatever. But I feel like this does give you like a decent bit of equity into kind of like the more challenging matchups. Like in a Marionette, I'm starting to feel like a little bit more good, I guess, which is pretty wild if Marionette is like going to be a big portion of the field. But yeah, overall, just still trying some new things with Marlin, just kind of see like what's going to be working by the time that's but yeah, well, we're gonna go ahead and get right into it. So just gonna be doing some practice. Again, no real like goals in mind, just trying to get some more reps in the deck, just to hopefully try to keep the O2 drop. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and get into the games. All right, got a bolt. How do I actually see if I'm going first or second? Okay, they are choosing to go first, so we'll bring in the Honing Hood, Quick Dodge, and our Wrench. And I don't believe we actually. We do bring in a tie in this matchup. What do I want to cut? Probably the burdens. That looks good. All right. Give them right out. I feel like Boltyn's one of the matchups that's gotten definitely a little bit scarier just with the kind of post holodeck kind of thing. What is that card? The Edict of Steel is a pretty good card. Hopefully this will go well. I feel like Boltyn has felt like pretty favorable for me overall. Okay, strong start here with the Blessing and Bologna, not too bad. We do have a pretty good start of our own, though. And now we can just block with one of our swing lines, our Solar Redfin. We can also consider overblocking a little if we want to just cycle through the deck faster. I don't know how necessary. It depends on like what their last card in hand is. They probably just want to set up an Earth. Guaranteeing a blue in hand is like pretty reasonable. And if we like draw an extra blue that we don't want to play, like playing out the swing lines, like acceptable. Right, got the elephant. So I guess we're just going to send 11 here. In Arsenal Shallow Water. Notably, they're not on Crown of Province, which is actually pretty good for us. I guess most Boltons aren't really on Crown. But still, good thing for us. They are on Tunic, which is like a little scarier. It does mean that their via the Vanguards get a little bit better. Okay. Like they're just going to give us a little bit of armor here. Maybe just going to charge with the boots, set up a Quicken. which is exactly what they're doing. Let's see if they have another red in hand, though. Blessing a Boltyn card is actually kind of nasty here, getting them an additional courage token. Not too bad. But we did chew a bit of armor, so overall could be worse. You can get the rest of the hand, so just Lumina. They are going to be playing the Warcry Bologna as well, probably. It's going to be a pretty big turn for them. They're going to be able to do like triple Lumina swing plus the Warcry on it. Pretty disgusting. Oh, I guess they do have to charge, or they charge. The Blessing of Bologna just puts it in your soul, but it doesn't charge itself, right? So they do have to find another way to charge to buff Raiden, if I'm understanding that correctly. So they charge with the Warband, right? Okay, and they pitch the Warcry. So the turn's actually not going to be quite as good, maybe, as they would have wanted. So you may charge your hero's soul. Time you attack this. Oh, so when they attack, they charge. Okay, I see. That means they charge the Roaring Beam, drew a random card, and now they have the Lumina follow up. Okay, seems pretty good. What do we want to do on our turn? Probably just catch of the day. I guess we don't even necessarily want to catch of the day. Maybe we're just giving like the cheer just to kind of soak up a little bit of soul. I think that's kind of reasonable. Like the catch is not actually giving us much additional range here. I think this seems acceptable. And they are kind of incentivized to like play out the Lumina. I feel like they could also sit on it, but like they'd be wasting like the flurry token, which feels weird. They're at minimum getting like, oh, they drew another balloon off the top. Okay, pretty good. Like they could choose to sit on Lumina here, but we're at minimum getting like five value out of the quick dodge. And if they do choose to go for an Arsenal, then we can punish the shallow water, which is kind of interesting. Okay, choosing not to go for the Lumina. I guess that's fair. Hopefully we'll be able to punish them for that. And we are also kind of like weakening their Lumina because they're not going to be able to do it on the flurry turn. So I feel like that quick dodge is actually still kind of fine. But we are kind of shields down. I mean, both players are kind of like using a lot of armor here. At least this threatens the Lumina, which we know is an arsenal, so they probably have to give us like, even if they have like a soul shield or something in hand, then they have to give us like soul shield plus armor, which feels pretty bad. I guess we'll see what they have here. We also don't know exactly what flavor Boltyn this is. Maybe like they also are sometimes running like sinks and stuff. I'll have to see, but it probably means we're not getting Lumina next turn, which is also pretty good. It means we can again maybe threaten a shallow water, which is kind of sweet. I need to like move this back over. I think the Corsham stream like ruined our my overlay slightly. I'll fix it in a little bit. All right, giving us beacon, duty bound. So they still can't Lumina next turn unless they find like some way to like charge with a single card, which I don't think is possible. They do have Bologna, which I guess will set them up for next. Okay, so this is a bit of an awkward hand because we do want to Codex, but the hand is not incredibly conducive to that. I think the actual correct play here is to discard the big game trophy shot to the port side, right? Because we would need to draw exactly a yellow off the top in order to do anything with this hand. We could alternatively like port side Sunken away for like just one of these blues and then try to draw something off the top, but that doesn't really help us. I think we're just supposed to go gold positive here and just try to draw like a buff off the top. Shifting Tides kind of qualifies as a buff. So overall, I'd say that's kind of makes sense. Like if we just big game trophy shot there, it's like pretty bad. I think I am going to try to go for their arsenal again. Just because we did at least buy armor last time. Let's see if we get their Lumina now. Okay, it looks like we potentially do. Lumina is out of the way, which is great. And they have a frailty token, which can be like mildly annoying if they want to do like some weapon swinging this turn. So overall, I think we're doing not too bad here. Bolt of Courage is a bit scary. Question is, can we really do much about it? I mean, our hand blocks 6 in total. So the best play we can make is maybe just block with Golden Tip and Codex, but then we're like losing a ton of value. So I think we're just eating this, unfortunately. No real clean way to either even use the hook too, which is a little unlucky. So they get to draw their card, but not the end of the world. We are still kind of ahead, at least on life for the time being. I guess we'll see the rest of their hand, and maybe we're going to lose a little bit of that lead. But we get tempo, which I think is important. So we're going to be looking probably this turn to draw into a lot of our buff cards, like some of our buffs, like Cheating Scoundrel, Take Game, Trophy Shot would be nice. Beacon's not too bad. I guess they do get the full value, or okay, partial value out of Beacon. Beacon's a really good card. I still really actually like the design of this card. I feel like it was like a little underwhelming when Soup first came out, but like once, oh my god, a tie off the top, disgusting. But like once Boltyn got like a little bit more support with like the hollow armor deck, I feel like it's been pretty all right. The tie off the top is nasty though. Let's maybe actually Hammerhead first, just so we can get a little bit more opting with the eye here. Oh, okay, we have 2 buffs on top. That's game winning probably. We do kind of have to sequence it not terribly. I guess we're pitching the Codex here, right? And the catch. It's like a little awkward. Oh no, we don't have to pitch anything because we already activated it. In that case, we could also just dump the hand. I kind of actually want to just draw like 1 card here. Okay, that's fine. Still a little bit weird. Hey, drawing the card there wasn't correct. Maybe we should just fire it off. I think it ultimately probably doesn't matter. We're still sending like 16 here, but it's like a little weird. I don't like there wasn't a clean way to like hold on to the Codex and then also send the catch of the day, right? Could have also just like deprioritized the Codex, but getting an Edict of Steel is actually really nice. Funny thing about King Kraken, it's actually gotten a lot better into Boltyn just because they're running a lot more like non-attacks now. Between like the edicts and then also just like Lumina, like the better targets. Occasionally you also see what is that card? The Bolognas as well, which are really nice. But a lot more targets to hit in Boltyn. Cool. Okay, take another 4. Then they have another Beaming Bravado in hand, and then 1 unknown card, or maybe a known card in our. I just forgot because it's kind of late. And then what do we want to do with this hand? Like another awkward hand where the trophy shot is not really helping us a ton here because of like how the breakpoints line up. I guess we could just like end up sending the hand and keeping the king shark to like discard. But we'll kind of see what they do here. We might end up like blocking 6 depending on what they have. Okay, Edict. This card is pretty good. So they're gonna swing again, presumably. So I kind of just want to Codex for 10 and like just soak up a little bit of this damage. Alternative play, there's no real, like, we could discard the Goldfin to hold on to the King Shark. How many King Sharks, I guess, have we seen? We've only, oh, I guess we do want to block with it, probably to get it in the yard. So yeah, we're going to take the 3, or we're going to just kind of Powder Light Toll here at the trophy shot, and then block with the King afterward. Could have also gotten like a little bit more aggressive, try to like hold everything. I don't know how good that actually would have been. And the question is, do we want to block here? So we could get punished by like a random on hit on the back end of this, but I think we kind of have to take that risk. Just because we do want this in the graveyard ideally. And they might just like set up an arsenal. Okay, but we get a Codex, which is great. So it should hopefully kind of stop their turn here. And they don't have a flurry setup, which is also quite nice. I don't think I'm going to go for Hook, although they haven't really shown us any reacts yet, but maybe that's like a reason to not actually go for Hook. Because I feel like most Boltyns are on Soul Shield or some number of D-Reacts in some capacity, right? Feels like kind of safe to not just throw away the hook. We probably have like a couple more hook activations through the course of the game, and we also have like the block value on it, which is relevant. Our Boltyn opponent's also on like relatively low soul, which is important to note. Like it feels like they burned through a decent chunk of it. Still have like a decent buffer, but like they can't like cataclysm us out of nowhere, which is pretty nice. And hopefully this King Shark ends up doing some work, assuming that they don't have like D-Reacts or whatever. Okay, what we got here, Boltyn? All right, taking the 10. Let's take a peek at that hand. So they got Beacon, Take Flight, Duty Bound, Blitz, Saving Grace. Huh. So they presumably want to Beacon here. So I'm imagining they have a charge card in Arsenal. Is this maybe the other Beaming Bravado that we knew about? Maybe that was the card they had. So if their Arsenal's Beaming Bravado, which I think it should be, but that also causes like the frailty token should actually be kind of annoying. I guess they have the beacon though to set that. Okay, lots of interesting things happening here. I guess I want to like leave them with Take Flight. Is that crazy? I guess they're going to charge like the attack regardless, right? I guess the play is to maybe take the duty down, or they have Tunic, I guess. Let's take the Take Flight just so they can't like Tunic Take Flight, I guess. But I feel like they're all relatively the same there. Okay, so there's the beaming. So they pump with the. Oh god, I have to like look up this card again. I assume this card's like not an on hit, right? You just have to like buff it basically, and then you like tutors for the card. I think. Let me like double check that. Okay, yes, yeah, so you just have to charge this turn. Sorry, I always have to like look up that card because I forget. They're gonna have a pretty good turn this turn, but we do get to get them with a bit of the frailty value. So we should still be alive this turn, hopefully. Then we know their hand is also the D-React, the Saving Grace. Oh, looks like they maybe want to give this go again. Okay, there's the Duty Bound Blitz. So I guess it like maybe the better play was actually to leave them with the Take Flight. I guess it like doesn't matter though, because they're still going to be able to send 4 either way. I guess the Take Flight would just stress their Tunic out. I don't know what was right there. Maybe it was just the Duty Bound Blitz was like the correct pick. Because at least this way they're like threatening the Iron Song, which is like a little annoying. Okay, maybe actually the correct play was definitely the Duty Bound there. Just taking the Tunic, like taking them off the 1 point of value might actually matter. Alright, so unfortunately we cannot block this chain link, otherwise we will buff the Raiden for the rest of the turn, right? Or is that how this works? Attacks you control have +1 while defending it, being defended. So I think this counts as the attack, right? I think Raiden gets permanently buffed, right? By matching that. Need to call a judge. Anyways, I think we're gonna basically just end up going to 1 here, if I'm not mistaken. I guess they do get the courage token, so that will force a card. Maybe actually taking that Take Flight there actually maybe like saves us that 1 point of value. Then we can like keep the full grip and it's like a little bit better. Things to think about. Because yeah, if we stress their Tunic counter, then they can't Iron Song, which is like the important thing. But it might still not matter here. I guess we'll find out. They do go back up to 7, which is pretty good. Let's go for the salvage turnover. I guess just a random Lumina or whatever. I don't think it should matter. Yeah, we do need to draw semi-well here. But 3-Oak is a great draw, actually. Have we seen a 3-Oak yet? Okay, this has not been a particularly great Marlynn draw, but salvageable. for sure. We've been doing surprisingly well for not drawing a 3 oak. I guess is just a testament to the deck strength. And also just incredible 3 oak hit. So we got like one good 3 oak off, which is better than nothing, right? I feel like our codexes were like pretty okay though. It's like average Marlynn RNG, nothing like crazy. But now they do have the onus of like they have to give us at least like 2 cards to stay alive here. And then they have to like figure out a turn to have after that to like actually pressure a life total. So I think we're like okay. Definitely, I think misplayed that last turn by like giving them the courage token. Like if we don't give them that, then the rest of our turn is like pretty straightforward. Like we just get to keep a full grip there and go to 1, which is pretty good. Toe the line, pretty good. Well, let's see what their last card in hand is here. So they go to 2, get their beacon, and then functionally don't have a turn, which is great. So we hit them with the old Marlynn time walk, which is always fantastic. Let's go for cheating, and then we're probably going to be sending 13 here unless something horribly goes wrong. I will just crack a little bit of extra gold for fun here. I think I'll pitch the Kraken just because we have some other threats on the deck. Let's go for the Murderous, and then it looks like they probably just scooped it up to that. So overall, I think Boltyn is still like a little bit like the Boltyn matchup has gotten scary. You have to like play a little bit tighter, but like even if you make like a couple misplays, it's still pretty favored for you, which is like I feel like Boltyn's probably like the best warrior to play into. Um, like I feel like the other warriors are a little bit trickier just because like the margin for error is a lot lower, but like into Boltyn, like I feel like the margin for error is like pretty high. But yeah, good matchup to I guess showcase the changes to the Boltyn matchup. I feel like this variant of Boltyn is probably like the best I've seen in terms of like running the Edict of Steels, like the Warcry Bologna. Like it feels like you just are able to like combo so much damage off of like these 2 cards, and the flurry tokens as well. Which are like very good. I've been liking like this version with like the tunic and the warband like more so than some of the other variants I've seen where they're running like the full fridge or whatever. Like this variant has felt like it's been a lot better, like into Marlynn in particular. Kind of interesting. All right, but yeah, let's go ahead and get another game. All right, we got a Lyath. So let's actually take a look. I still need to figure out how exactly we're doing chat here. All right, opponent wants to go first, so we will go second. We'll bring in the Floating Hood, and we don't actually know what variant of Lyath this is, but I've been seeing a lot more Fatigue Lyath. So I think I'm going to actually kind of hedge for Fatigue a little bit and kind of just bring in some extra blues in the battering bolts. Generally still like running 65 here, and the blues just kind of help. Like the mutinies are not particularly good, but they do just help kind of pad the total, which is pretty relevant. So let's see what kind of Lyath we're actually facing here, and it looks like they are on not the Fatigue Lyath, a little bit more of like the aggro Lyath. Yeah, also go ahead. Redo my setup here. Okay, starting off with the battered, beaten, and broken. Just now looking at our hand is like pretty terrible. So most likely probably going to be looking at. So we know they're not a fatigue Lyath, which is actually really good for us because it means that we don't have to like try to play this like really awkward hand. We can kind of just take a little bit of like a setup here. I think like we basically being able to use the quiver here, I think is really important because we can get 2 cards out of our hand and then just arsenal the trophy shot, which is like generally going to fix most of our hands. Oh, we'll go ahead and pop it in arsenal. But yeah, not a particularly good starting hand, but we'll hopefully try to find some action next turn. Unless we're looking at potentially the brick of all time, which I hope I'm not jinxing myself here. Okay, we did not brick too bad here. We do not have a yellow in the bin, which is fine for now. Let's go ahead and just pop our trophy shot. And I think we're hoping we're not getting intimidated here. Okay, so overall this is fine. So we get to load, pitch, and then send a shallow water for 13. So not too bad. We get to pitch a codex for later. Losing a couple of our buffs is a little painful, but not the end of the world. I think I could have also considered hooking this, but there are some Lyaths that are running like weird steadfast stuff, so like it's a little bit riskier. I know Ripple's also like semi-common in some Lyath lists, so like feels like a little bit dangerous of a hook to like just do without any information, right? Like if I had like a little bit more info throughout the course of the game, maybe the hook would make a bit more sense there. But like Lyaths have historically been on some weird stuff lately. Like Ripple has been pretty weird. I think what else has been like Ripple mostly, and then just like anything that's like buffing the Rampart. But that's mostly like Fatigue Lyath, I guess. All right, looks like they're maybe going to give us a few cards here. The ideal scenario is we end up making like 2 gold on the back of this, but it could have like some random instant aura to play at our arsenal. Okay, looks like we got the batter beaten and broken, which is fantastic for us. Oh, and Frail Swing Line is kind of funny against Lyath, but I guess we'll see if we actually end up using it here. Notably, the hero does actually. Oh, it has to be less than its base. I guess Lyath just modifies the base, but is it actually reduced? Because the base itself is getting modified, right? Maybe I need another judge question. Also, let me fix like their hearing. This is also weird. Sorry that I'm ruining the Flesh and Bad viewing experience by having my settings broken. All right, let's go ahead and turn over their battered. Just get a little bit of value. They do have 4 mites set up, but like that shouldn't be too scary. I think I'm like probably most scared of here is just like a random intimidator or whatever. Oh, get Boltyn here, send it for 10. We're playing Overload as well. I know some Lyaths I think I've been playing that for like 8 from what I understand. Interesting. Cool card. It looks like they're also going to try to pop their palm, draw some cards for their next turn. Right, so this is their turn to really kind of make like a pivot here. Unfortunately, we do have the base to kind of play around any dominate or anything. So we should be like be fine. But this is going to be like the scary turn, I guess. Okay, just another escalate, which is like scary in its own right, but like not quite as bad as I guess other things that they could have. So go ahead and take it here, and then we'll see what their follow-up is if they want to try to use their snaps or whatever. Or maybe like a razor reflex. Sure, that also makes sense. At least it's not like an on-hit, which is like pretty nice for us. Right, and they do get to set up an arsenal. So we do have to be a bit careful still about leave them hanging, which we have seen one of. Oh, we could be overdue for another one pretty soon. So let's go and crack a gold. So take game like a little awkward here, I'd probably say. Okay, now it's not. Which is the funny part of take game. We do still have to be a little bit careful about their leave them. So how do we best play around leave them? Actually, we could like just arsenal 3 up right now. Is probably the best way. So they can't just like intimidate it in response. Actually, that was actually the play. Holy shit. So we arsenal the 3 oak so that they can't actually hit it, but they do get to hit our shallow water, which is like acceptable, I think. We do notably have to draw a harpoon off the top, which we haven't seen a ton of, or maybe we've just been pitching them. Like we still have like all of our red harpoons in the deck, so I'm still gonna like fire this off and try to go for it. But the odds of like hitting a harpoon there are actually like fairly high, I feel like, just because of like how few we've actually resolved, I feel like. But very solid turn, actually. The take game was like kind of disgusting there. We'll also go for the hook here just because, again, they seem more like an aggro Lyath, and I don't know how often aggro Lyath runs like Ripple away. It seems to be more of like a fatigue Lyath card than anything. But this Bluefin Harpoon could be relatively, again, if they have the blues in their hand, so they may not. Oh, maybe want to block a little different here. See what they got. We're going to be making at least a decent portion of gold here, though. Okay, drag down, sure. Take a peek at that hand. Okay, Bad Breath, Revolting Gesture, and Nimble. So this looks like a Lyath hand, in the sense that it's unplayable, right? I guess they can like pitch all these to Titan's Fist, but like that's pretty terrible. So the Bluefin actually did some work there in forcing them to, I guess they didn't like have to pitch the Terra Sunder. They did it in like response to leave them hanging to try to get me. Um, but like maybe they just like have to keep all the reds there, which is like pretty terrible for them. Okay, we got Hammer for 9, which is very easily deal with the bull. The question is, do I guess I want to block at all? I think I kind of just want to push the tempo a little bit. Maybe like block with a salvage, something like this, and then maybe just try to like Hammerhead, Murderous Rabble, send in a Shallow Water for just some damage. So overall, I'd say I'm feeling like pretty comfy this game. Nothing like too strenuous. Like it feels like they've just been whiffing on disruption pretty bad, which I feel like has done us a lot of favors. All right, come in with Murderous Rebel. Catch of the Day on top is not too shabby. I guess they get to like eat it off the top, which is kind of funny. Sure. I mean, not the end of the world. They get to pick our catch of the day, which like we're not going to be probably using anyway, or like we're probably just going to be pitching. So, not too bad, but could be mildly annoying for Lyath. I guess I kind of see their logic. When the card is powerful, catch of the day feels like a broken fab card, but when it's like not powerful, it's just like, oh, it's 2 damage, which is like still pretty good. Catch of the day is a pretty solid card. Okay, nice hand for next turn. So we're gonna just try to push this advantage, I think, as hard as possible. So option 1 is we end up blocking out 9 and then setting up at 21, but I don't really want to give them space here. So I think we're just gonna like try to send this hand as fast as possible here. You have 2 leave them hanging us out of the way, so like they only have that one last one to really disrupt us on our turn. And like we still have some gold as backup, so like we should be able to fix our way out of that situation if they do actually end up resolving it. But they should hopefully just be lethal in most scenarios here. I go for the Shallow Water, and then let's crack like 1 gold just to make this hand like less awkward. King Shark's, I guess, a little awkward. Maybe I should have waited on the load there, but I think it still kind of works out here. I guess we get to keep this for ours. But yeah, probably better actually to wait on the load. I think I was like trying to like think about leave them hanging, but I don't think it matters at this point in the game. Again, 13 should probably get the job done unless they have some combination of drag downs and fiddler screens or something. So overall, we should be probably fine. But yeah, I think the better play is to like maybe just wait on that second draw and just maybe try to send King Shark because it is technically 1 point extra value, if not more, because you're hitting with the King Shark, obviously. Okay, they do have a drag down. Do they have another one though? Okay, they do not have the second drag down, unfortunately. But yeah, Lyath, I don't know. It's like some of the Lyath lists just feel like so hit or miss in terms of like what disruption they're actually able to kind of like chain together. Seems just very like inconsistent, I guess. But I think with like more cards, like I know Lyath is getting like the new Maul card, which is going to be pretty good. So maybe we'll see a little bit more Lyath kind of in the future. But I feel like I've had my fair fill of him from F tier Fridays. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can get a couple more. All right, so we got a Tuffnut. So I actually kind of debate on first or second versus Tuffnut. I feel like second is still like pretty reasonable. Like forcing them to like give you filtering is like always kind of nice. I don't know. I feel like there's like a very strong argument for like going first of Crown Dominion just so they can't like send 13 or something at you. Because like some of those starts are pretty scary if you just like kind of let them do the thing. But I think we should be pretty comfortable blocking here. So they do need to gauntlets and then pitch up. So I guess they're still gonna like get the value here. Like they're gonna push at least what is this, like 6 damage. So I think this is like kind of an argument for going first into Tuffnut, just so you are not like leaking a ton of damage with Honing Hood. Like this is like the one matchup where Honing Hood is like a little suspect. But yeah, they should be pushing, what is this, 8, so 7 damage on us, not too bad. I am going to hold on to 3 here. I think our hand was like a little bit below average in terms of block value, I would have to say. And the only question is, do I want to Arsenal this 3 Oak? I generally have the policy of not wanting to Arsenal the if I have like 3 Oak in the opener with Honing Hood. This is like a really awkward game for like Honing Hood in particular. Just drawing like multiple 3 Oaks in the opener. Like, you see this hand, right? The reason I'm not Honing Hood in this scenario is because I can just send cheating plus Shallow Water and then hold the Honing Hood for later turn. So generally, like my policy is that, like, if I have 3 Oak in the opener, I don't really have to Arsenal 3 Oak because like the returns are not like, imagine if we just had like a random like blue harpoon here instead of like the shifting tides or something, then we're like basically not getting much real value out of that. But yeah, we should have a nice shallow water harpoon lined up here. I would like to send something else, ideally. Something that maybe a little bit more disruptive, like a Kraken would be great. But we should be able to kind of return some pretty nice damage here. I think I am even going to go for the hook just because it's 13 and then Kraken, they tend to not really want to block as much as like King Shark. Cheating does make this like fairly safe though. I know some tough nuts are running like Ripple Away, but like I feel like on average it's not most tough nuts. I think I've also just been seeing a lot of tough nut on Talishar lately. I still blame Lupine Fiasco for that. I know he played tough nut for a little bit. I think everyone got excited about it. Between Lupine and boosting Spendog, I feel like those are like the two tough nut experts in my mind. Matchup still feels like really good for us, even though we did have like a little bit of weird RNG in the opener though. Getting to start the game with 2 gold is quite nice, as well as the Honing Hood for just extra kind of flexibility. I'm curious that they didn't roll scabs just to try to see if they can like push a little bit of extra damage. But to each their own. So what do we want to do on this hand? Most likely it's going to end up being block out a little bit, kind of wait for a better hand, and maybe just send a gold in. We do have some yellows to turn over, right? We have the Buckwild, which I think is like a good target just in case we fix them on a future turn. Taking away their go again source so they can't like set up a bigger turn later is quite nice. But we'll just get our little block value while we can. Let's go for the cheating into. So we're not gonna probably play the Murderous Rebel here. Could also try to crack like 3 gold to try to like dig for like a super relevant threat, but 9 damage is still like kind of fine, especially with 9 damage with like gold on hit. Not too bad. And draw a card if you kind of think about, I guess, like the cracking of the drawing like a random decent arsenal card, hopefully. So we do have to be a bit careful about Murderous Rabble. You can also just like salvage here. Actually, there's a neat trick we can kind of do with Honing Hood where we arsenal blue and then potentially use the blue as like pitch on a later turn. So I think I'm actually going to try to go for that. So I don't think I'm going to hook this, right? Because they can just block like barely. I guess like if we get armor on this, I'm like kind of happy with that. It's interesting. Like I kind of actually am okay taking the risk of like if they want to like spend all their armor just to block out a Gulfin, I think that's like kind of a win for us. And like discarding the seafloor salvage is not like the end of the world here. I guess it's like the same as like playing it out though. The same as playing it out, but like it makes it so that we get the hook. I guess we get the hook anyways if we play it out. To me, this is like the same as playing it out, but I guess the upside is that if they don't block, then we get to keep it. Which means we're like up a blue, which is kind of cool. A lot of weird things to think about that with this deck. But like the benefit of not playing it is if they don't block, then we get to keep a blue, which we can then Honing Hood from Arsenal and potentially like fix a hand with like multiple reds or whatever. I don't know. There's lots of like weird things that I learn about this deck like every time I play it. It's like you kind of gotta like think about each hand like very carefully, I guess, to make sure there's no like plays that you're missing that you wouldn't otherwise like take in other weird scenarios. Looks like got a Jaws of Victory, which should be online in most cases, unless they like pick off the top, which they could still tunic. Should be basically safe from bricking here. So we're looking at 13 to 14 damage turn, which is easily deal withable. I'm just gonna go for the trophy shot next turn and then maybe even do the Honing Hood swap thing just to kind of like get an extra blue in our hand. Okay, so they did not pull the tunic for the gauntlets, which I think is smart of them. We could also consider blocking a little bit with the sunken, but I kind of want to get a little bit aggressive here, and being aggressive also lets us like potentially keep a good arsenal. So we'll say no blocks. Go down to 19, and then we're looking at sending a minimum a King Shark for 14 here, if not more. Not too bad. With an arsenal in most cases. All right, so the cool trick we're going to do here with Honing Hood is now we get to basically return a blue to our hand, and then we can kind of swap, like use this blue now instead of like having to play it out. We can actually just use it as pitch, which is pretty sweet. So let's go ahead and make our Harpoon for discard fodder. And then I guess we'll start by pitching the second because it's technically our card in hand. Draw Bluefin. Be okay for next turn. How many 3-Oaks? We've seen 2 3-Oaks, right? I don't want to like crack 1 or 2 more golds, depending. I want just like 1 extra thing to kind of slap on this King Shark to make it like super, super good. All right, another C4 salvage is like whatever. We'll crack like 1 more gold and then maybe end up just playing one of these out. So we ended up like not actually using the C4 salvage for any fun tricks. That's okay. Theoretically, there was like a cool trick with C4, which I think is what mattered more than anything. Is that there's theoretically a full tunic, and we get a free hook because of our salvage. So the King Shark, if we get to leave them with like a singular card in hand, can be really annoying if it's not like a wind up the crowd or something they can just like discard. Like if they have 3 cards that all block and like don't have like a kind of like alternate effect, then the King Shark is actually like super powerful at kind of. Okay, look at flesh bag, sure. Now we get to take a peek at what is left over. So we got a Buck Wild and the crowd goes wild. So this is actually kind of interesting. Is it correct to take the crowd goes wild? So the downside is if we leave them with the Buck Wild, then they just probably like arsenal. But it means they're not swinging next turn. So like them arsenaling the Buck Wild basically is just them delaying their turn for a turn. But if we leave them with the crowd goes wild, then this actually gives them like a thing to play, which is weird. So I think we're actually going to take the turn that like prevents them from playing something, right? Or in like the ideal case, prevent something. A bit of a weird hand, but we can hopefully try to fix this with a little bit of cold cracking. So like now they have to like either play the Buck Wild or just arsenal it, and either way they're still just getting like the 6 damage out of it. So I need at least 1 extra resource on this hand, so let's hope for a blue here. We are going to have to end up pitching our King Shark here, which is like a little suspect. But overall, not too bad. Like the take aim's not actually punishing us too hard there. And it gives us a nice little bit of extension. Alright, so we get our shark. We get to hook this pretty much free because we know they have the Buckwild in Arsenal and potentially just get to ruin their hand again. I mean, the Buckwild could definitely be annoying. For sure. But like they basically just like lost out on playing the Buckwild last turn, so we're not actually losing. Let's take a peek at the hand. We got a Wind Up the Crowd and a Wrecker. So regardless here, they're pretty much going to be able to pitch either of those. So I guess we'll just take up the Wind Up the Crowd just in case they want to take like another setup turn, which I kind of doubt. But overall, I think we're doing very, very well here. Again, they still get to like play out their Buckwild, but like they're still taking like two mental damage from the first scare. So we're chilling pretty hard here. Okay, Buckwild comes in, seems good. Really, really not too bad for us here. And they also have to like hit pretty well off the Tuffnut off the top, which and Tuffnuts do run like a decent number of reds in the deck. So like the odds of hitting a red off the top are like semi high, or having the least pull tunic is also kind of a loss, right? Because it means your like future rocks are like less consistent. But yeah, we'll drop down to 8 here because we have plenty of life to work with. And yeah, I think like looking back on the first turn of this matchup, I feel like this is like a matchup where you generally maybe just want to go first and then just try to spend some damage because like they'll often be able to convert like 13 through Honing Hood, which is like this is like one of the few decks that's actually like able and wants to actually like fully convert their hand on turn 1. Funny. Let's go ahead and start by pulling away our Harpoon here. Looking for a little bit more action. Trophy Shot is close to action, but a little bit awkward since we did just discard our Harpoon. So let's go ahead and crack some gold and just kind of see what else we have to work with here. Maybe looking at like 2 more gold cracks because it will line up nicely with kind of like the Trophy Shot here. So if we draw like another blue here, we should be guaranteed to send it for some pretty big value. But now we can actually even draw a blue off the top and then discard the King Shark, and then we get to sing instead, which is kind of nasty. So I think we found the line here pretty easily. So get a King Shark. They get to set up like another Buckwild in Arsenal, but I think at this point in the game, probably shouldn't matter. And yeah, I'd say this matchup still feels like pretty comfortable for me. It just feels like you're able to like outmath them like most of the time. Oh, Barraging Big Court is a card I've not seen in a while. Interesting. It's a cool one. And so now they are technically alive here, but I think they're playing off the top, right? Because they can't hit a yellow or else their entire turn just basically bricks. So I think we just found probably a little bit too much action here. They could rip a blue off the top, but even then, that doesn't really save them. And like this is kind of like the Tuffnut inconsistency you kind of have to play for, right? Is just like eventually they will draw badly and you will draw good, and then you kind of win the game. And just throw some armor in front of it to pad our life total for our stats. Catch of the day. I'm gonna just crack like a little bit of gold just for funsies. See if we can find something a little bit more enticing to play on top of the codex here. I think this will suffice. So get to go and just take game the codex. Not do that. Hammerhead instead. Tunic. It's another 15 here. Very clean. For what it's worth, we did draw, I'd say, above average this game, although our opener was like kind of bad. But 3 Oak is a powerful card, and drawing at least one of them is often pretty good. So I don't imagine there's any real world where they're able to block this, but I guess we'll find out. And yeah, I think that kind of goes to showcase the tough matchup. Like people in purple have been telling me this matchup gets hard, and I feel like the data just like does not agree. Like I think this is like my personal when I think I actually had like a different variant of the deck. Let me see if I can actually find that. But currently I'm like 2 on this list in a Tuffnut, which is pretty alright. Let me go ahead and look at the other list. So the other list, look at my win rate. Results. like another 2 wins and a Tuffnut, and then I had like a third list. Oh, I had Scrimp. Hold on. I think this is the list I was actually thinking about. So this list, I think I'm also like 12 and 2 into Tuffnut, which like you could argue there are a bunch of like bad Tuffnuts on Talishar or whatever, but like for the most part, it feels like that matchup. Or I guess I'm like 9 and 1 in Tuffnut if I'm looking at. I don't know if my personal stats are like worse or better. But like I feel like the Tuffnut matchup, like even if you're playing against a really good pilot, is still like very overwhelmingly favored for you across like even multiple different deck lists I've had. So like I don't know, the people who've been telling me that the matchup is like difficult in purple chat are probably huffing a little bit of gas. But shout out to you gas huffers out there. But yeah, let's see if we can get one last game. All right, get to play against a Dash IO. So normally they will choose to go first, and then we will go second. It's a little bit of a trickier matchup just because like if they have like just kind of like the nut start, you'll generally lose. But if you have a pretty good start as well, like you can tend to kind of compete with them. Matchup feels very like high rolly, I guess is what I would say. We do have a good opener though in the form of King Kraken. Not the best harpoon into Dio generally. Like I think King Shark is a little bit more impactful, but it can still like trigger, which is quite nice. It looks like they're going to start with a relatively weaker start. So most likely than not, they're gonna just try to play out another item here. So like, I think I'm gonna just try to block the extra one just to prevent like a boom grenade off the top. But like, most likely we're looking at like a spark here or just like some random like Techlocore pass or whatever. It seems like they're maybe just kind of like digging for items off the top here and then wanting to set up an arsenal, is my guess. But anything could happen. So let's try to go ahead and pop our hunting hood here. Hopefully they don't have like an attack or something annoying to send. I feel like a heist would be like probably worst case scenario because they would get like a tech or that would be pretty sad because we have this stupid eye in our hand. Very, very nice eye. Okay, and we have a pretty decent start here. So it's actually funny that the port side could end up doing us, giving us like a bit of extra value off the top if we want it. But I don't know that we actually need it necessarily. So your port side, discard the red fin, draw the Golda tip, but like I don't actually know if that's doing us like a ton because the red fin should also be like probably good enough here. They currently only have 6 armor because they're not running the other boots, so we do get a free hook here, which is quite nice. So getting to start the game off with 10 is pretty good, and our DO opponent actually kind of stumbled on their item setup here. So if we can catch them in hand with a bunch of items, then we get to at least strip minimum 1 card from their hand, which is pretty nice. And we get to set up the gold, which is also quite relevant as well. I'm probably actually going to look up to Arsenal port side here, just because we are more likely than not going to be making gold here. And then we can choose to either send the red fin or maybe something else that we have in hand if we draw like a bunch of reds. And maybe using Crown of Province to just go ahead and sink like an item from hand here. But we'll see what their draw was. So it looks like mostly attacks in hand. So they're going to have a really nice turn here. Basically, going like full red line. The soup up might be like a little awkward unless they have like some way to set up an item. But the nice part about that hand is that they do kind of have to pitch at some point, right? Whether it's for Tekla, Foundry Heart, or something else. So maybe looking at like pitching the Pulse Wave there, like they might not be able to fully play that out. Yeah, maybe pitching to like a Boom Grenade or something else makes sense. So he did note that they had a bunch of like 0 for 3s and 0 for 4s in hand. But I don't know if there's any way we're going to be able to like fully block out this Boom Grenade. I don't know that we actually even necessarily want to since our hand is like pretty good. So most likely than not, we're just going to be eating this Boom Grenade damage. We could go ahead and just cash in the trench though, which I don't hate because they're incentivized to try to play out most of their hand here. So getting like the full value out of this is like pretty reasonable. Again, we are going to be taking probably the boom grenade damage at least. But getting our 7 points of health is obviously quite nice. And if they do go for like some scary on hit on the end of it, which I don't know exactly what they'd have, then we are also kind of like insulated against that, which is pretty good. Yeah, I'd say this is a pretty nice draw we've got kind of lined up here. It looks like they're just passing here. Playing out another boom grenade. Okay. Interesting. They may just gonna like here. That seems like kind of weird. So we can give them. We know they have another 0 for 4 in hand, right? It's the Fast and Furious, or no, did they play that already? The Fast and Furious, the soup up, and then we had a 0 to 60. So they have another 0 to 60 in hand. Notably, they put the counter on the boom grenade, so the boom grenade is also going to be lasting until next turn. So like, we're really also kind of incentivized to just go ahead and eat that as well, which is like a little awkward. Again, it's just damage functionally. Like, not as bad as them setting up like a Teklo core or something like a lot scarier. We're still getting basically full quick dodge value here, whether they swing with the weapon or the 0 to 60. Both are basically guaranteeing we get the quick dodge right. And if they don't swing, that's also like pretty fine because like the counters on Dio's weapon don't matter as much as the damage they're able to push right. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the port side here. Might just be looking to Arsenal the big game trophy shot at some point. We could also try to fire up now. Which I think makes sense because we do have the blues. We're probably just going to be discarding whatever we draw off the top, which will be maybe just want the red fin for flexibility, although I doubt we're going to be using it just because we have better kind of codex targets here. But sending in for 14, not too bad. Taking the best card of their hand, yada yada. So the Dio, I think, is in a like Dio can definitely win from this position, but they are in like I'd say a pretty unfavorable spot. They've used their Crown of Providence, which can bail them out of like Shallow Water Shark Harpoon, and they've also used a fair portion of their armor, so like they're not blocking out any on hits. They can definitely have some like scary like setup here, but overall, I think we're gonna be like kind of ruining their hand, so they're not gonna be able to like scale their damage quite as wide. And then they have a bunch of red 1 costs in hand, so I feel like taking the zipper hit here is probably the most impactful thing we think that we can do. Probably just like ruins their hand kind of outright, right? Should be pretty good. So they have a 0 to 60, a bunch of reds in hand, and then that's pretty much it. So very, very good for us. And I think we're going to be looking to just try to crack to blues here. We could also get a little bit not greedy and just like try to pitch the red fin first before we decide whether or not we're going to be trophy shotting. But yeah, this is going to be a pretty painful hand for them here. Pitching one of the reds. I guess they can pitch a red to like play both reds. I guess that's like kind of reasonable. So I feel like taking the yellow kind of like precludes them from basically like getting an item off the top, which is also kind of important. But yeah, go ahead and just take a little bit more vanilla damage functionally, and their pulse wave is only going to be coming in for 2 cards basically, which is not necessarily good enough. But yeah, Dio is like also like a little bit of a trickier matchup. Like if they do just like roll hot and you kind of don't roll hot, then like the game is basically decided in the first like 4 or so turns. Very much like a show the top card, like show the top of your deck matchup, and who's like top 20 cards are better tends to win, you know. Such is the nature of decks that kind of don't block. Right, let's go and crack some gold here. So ideally looking for blues. And I think since we do have like a bit of a gold pile to sit on, I'm kind of going to get like a little bit greedy here and just try to find some more action. 3 oak is probably best case scenario here. So we'll go ahead and make a harpoon, and then we're trying to look to draw blue off the top would be the best case scenario. But red I think also works, because the nice part about take aim here is we actually get to take aim the codex and then not have to like worry about like the codex 3 oak kind of anti synergy. The 3 oak actually has been kind of doing some work for me lately in just like weird scenarios like this. Like so like there's obviously like this kind of trade-off that I've kind of talked about maybe last Marlynn video at least, where like take aim is a little bit more awkward off the top, where you're like sometimes you're just like not hitting like the right card or whatever. But other times it just like wins you the game and like pushes a lot more damage. So I don't know. It kind of feels like there's pros and cons, but I feel like the pros are maybe starting to outweigh the cons, which is kind of fun. I think I'm also cracking a gold there just so we can hold on to the King Shark here, which King Shark is like the best card in our deck against Dio, so we want to make sure that we can chain them kind of back to back. But hitting a nice clean 17 here, so they're gonna have to block with all their armor, give us maybe even a card here, and even then they're still probably losing the game. I guess they could give us an armor, all armor go to 1, and then still lose a card from hand, which is pretty good for us. So yeah, that might just be their play here. Kind of in a little bit of a desperate scenario here. I think a funny thing they can do is they can also crank on our turn if they have like another soup up in hand or something that they want to play. But maybe no reason to just like lose the counter right away. Take a peek at his hand, so we're probably just gonna take the Fast and Furious here as the 0 costs are kind of like the best thing. Generally the 1 costs they just like are a little bit harder to pitch, especially when they don't have like resources on board. So I feel like we're incentivized to try to hit those first. And then we get to Arsenal the King Shark, which is great. So unless they string together like the best Dio turn of all time, we should be basically chilling here. They're off to a good start with the boom grenade off the top, so anything could happen. Right, Medic's also not bad. We don't technically have to worry about the on hit of this, but I think I'm still going to try to block the breakpoint anyways, and the off chance that we are able to actually stop the boom grenade. I think I probably won't block any more than this, though, just so we can play around another Pulse Wave, like stripping our hand really bad. So I think they've earned that one block, but they might not get another one out of us here. We should at least threaten the ability to deny the boom grenade, right? Even if we expect that it's probably going to be hitting this turn regardless. Okay, there's Spark, so gonna be able to Spark with the Achilles Accelerate too and generate some action points, which is also quite good. They do have a lot of red cards they can kind of get back here, so maybe like a Soup Up, a Fast and Furious, something like that. Alright, choosing to get the Cerebellum as well, so this is another card that can definitely eye roll us out of nowhere. We'll see how much damage they're actually able to string together from like 4 cards, right? Yeah, basically 4 cards. Alright, we'll go ahead and take our 8 damage here. And this is what I mean by like Dio can still definitely just like kill you out of nowhere with random boom grenade off the top. Tends to be pretty good. So they're gonna probably Cerebellum here, draw a random card. We know they still have that. I believe it's still 0 to 60 or something here, right? Not mistaken. Or maybe they already played the 0 to 60 and I've been forgetting. Could also be a max V. We're kind of overdue for one. Okay, there's the Pulse Wave, I guess. So show them that, and then Okay, I guess they can't technically max VS at this point though, but if they did draw like the perfect max V hand, that would have been kind of nasty. Fortunately, it didn't have it though. Oh, another Pulse Wave. Okay, so he did actually play around double Pulse Wave, which is kind of funny. I don't even know if it's necessarily good, but it's intriguing, I guess. If they like were able to like snipe both cards out of our hand with the Pulse Wave, I guess that could have been pretty scary. But we should still have this in the back here. Again, they're only just going to be sending one on the back, and then we have like a 5-point life lead. So it's still like a very close game. And again, this is only the third turn in the game, so like these deal games go very, very fast, and you have to draw very, very well. Which makes it like definitely a bit of a scarier matchup. Like if you just like falter and like don't disrupt them, then the game is basically over. I'm kind of also surprised they didn't maybe Achilles. I guess they're only sitting like one. It's not worth. But we'll go ahead and finish the game with King Shark unless they have some random mechanologist block cards, which I doubt. But yeah, overall, not too bad a game. I think we did generally see like the better half of our deck. Only saw like 1-3 that game, but like I think that 1-3 is tends to be enough. And then the most important thing is just like King Shark into Dio, because like Kraken is sometimes good if they just like draw random items off the top, but like most of the time they aren't drawing like the random items in their hand. It's mostly like in their deck. So like Kraken tends to be like a little bit more unreliable, I guess, in that sense. But overall, pretty good game. But yeah, I think that's gonna probably wrap it up for today. All right, so not too bad a performance for just kind of a little hodgepodge of decks here. So I think we actually went second into basically all the decks kind of played tonight, which is kind of cool. And I feel like the Honing Hood has just been doing like a lot of work in the deck overall. So Honing Hood's still feeling really good. Notably, I do think that maybe Tuffnut is a matchup where we ideally want to go first into, which is like a bit counterintuitive, but like the amount of damage that they're able to consistently present on turn 0 and they like actively want to consistently present on turn 0 like makes it so that I think you're not going to get as much value out of Honing Hood as you like would normally do against like other decks. So I think the Tuffnut matchup, like I guess you're technically supposed to run COD and like go first, but like even if you're running Honing Hood, it's still like very Marlynn favor, which is kind of funny. But yeah, still I guess learning new things about the deck, always kind of a nice thing. But yeah, we're continuing to prep for Nats, so we'll probably be doing some more Marlynn and kind of like the lead up to that, assuming that Marlynn is still good by that point. Like maybe Gravy makes a pretty big comeback. Maybe some of the new heroes make the deck a little bit worse. But I think there's still a lot to kind of explore with Marlynn. So we're going to be exploring it together, and we'll see kind of how the deck ends up kind of being kind of close from Nationals. So it should be pretty exciting. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see y'all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.